This is the Transforming Anxiety podcast with Kelly Hanlon McCormick, and today is episode number 233, Why Change is So Hard. Welcome to Transforming Anxiety. I'm your host, Kelly McCormick. I'm a mom to 2 boys, a wife, friend, daughter, and sister, and I'm a certified life coach, yoga teacher, and soon-to-be mindfulness meditation teacher. I'm no stranger to anxiety, and I'm here to teach you how to manage your mind and your emotions so that you too can transform anxiety into calm, peace, and whatever you want for your life. I'm so glad you're here. Hey there, welcome in today. How are you? How's the week going? And really think about this for a moment. How are you? And not the superficial, fine, busy, tired, not that stuff. But really, how are you? Do you ever take a moment with this question? I'm really trying to do this more in my life, to really pause and ask myself, how am I doing in this moment right now? Because honestly, I think a lot of times I don't know. I know I am. My suspicion is a lot of us are pretty good at abandoning ourselves, right? It's like what I want, what I need, how I'm feeling. I just can abandon that real easily in order to get things done, in order to take care of the people around me, in order to execute to-do lists or schedules or plans. And sometimes I'm taken aback when my people ask me, how are you? Because the honest answer right then is, I have no idea, right? So in case that's you too, and again, my suspicion is that's a lot of us, I invite you to slow down with it a little bit. Or really check in with yourself, maybe while you're driving, while you're waiting in line, while you're cooking or getting ready for bed. How am I? Just sit with it for a moment. And maybe don't accept the first 3 answers, let's say. Keep asking. Because the first one will be fine, busy, right? Really wait for the truth to rise up to the surface. This has been an interesting practice for me the last few months, really, I guess at this point. It's something useful, I'm finding. So hopefully that works for you too. All right, intention setting for today. Well, my intention for this conversation is pretty simple. We're going to talk about change today and why change is so hard. And I think we all know this, right? Change is all around us. Life is constantly changing. We are constantly being asked or invited or sometimes demanded to change ourselves. And it's like they say, right? Change is the only thing that stays the same. Yeah. And yet we push against it. We really struggle with change. It's hard to change. It's hard to change when you want to change. And it can also be really hard to accept changes that are forced upon you. Change is hard. That's all there is to it. And since it is the only thing that stays the same, and since we know we're going to face it, like this week, this month, this year, I thought it was probably time to talk about it. We're going to demystify it at least a little bit together today. Why is change so hard? If we got through changes all the time, or if we go through changes all the time, why aren't we better at it? Right? Most things that we do regularly, we get better at, but not change. Nope. So what gives? So my intention for today is that we pause together and that we take a more direct look at something we all experience in big and small ways regularly, and that we get willing to work with change and all that it brings, instead of just closing our eyes and pretending it isn't there or fighting with it altogether. This is one of those conversations where my intention is that we look at what is, that we take a breath with reality, and hopefully learn a few things about how to live with it instead of feeling like we're at the mercy of change, that we can't take care of ourselves around it, and that we just kind of have to push through in order to withstand it. I don't want to withstand things anymore. I've tried that. You've tried that. It's hard. And contrary to what they say, it's not character building. Doesn't make us stronger or anything. It just sucks. I'm interested in another way, a gentler way, a better way, I think, a way through that. Well, this isn't going to make you fall in love with change. I'll warn you about that right now. But again, I'm hoping this brings you closer to the truth and reality of it, that you can maybe see change for what it is. And once you're there, you can work with it. Okay? So let's start with some words from Dean Koontz. He said this about change. He said, change isn't easy. Changing the way you live means changing what you believe about life. That's hard. When we make our own misery, we sometimes cling to it, even when we want so badly to change, because the misery is something we know. The misery is comfortable. So I want to highlight this first part. He said, change isn't easy. Changing the way you live means changing what you believe about life. Yeah, we talk about this as if it's something we know how to do, as if it's something we can do and will willingly do, and it's just like a step-by-step, paint-by-number sort of process. It's not. You know this. Change is more like lighting things on fire, having the bottom fall out, and then free falling while you feel like your skin is melting off your body because you're feeling so many feelings. Right? You know what I mean? That is what change is like. And I think it's really important, even though it may seem like duh, to really hear this. Changing the way you live means changing what you believe. This is how it goes. Sometimes we think we can make a change, but also hold on to the old stuff. I think we fool ourselves this way. One of the hard things about change is that it requires a letting go. There's an end to what was, whether that's an old belief system or an old way of being, an old way of thinking or feeling or moving about the world. That has to be over in order for something new, a change, to occur. I was listening to an interview with Lori Gottlieb recently. She's a therapist. She wrote the book, Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, which is fantastic. Highly recommend. She was talking about change and how one of the requisite parts of change is loss, is grieving, is a death or an ending of what was. This isn't an addition of something new. We're not keeping the old and adding something new. That's not change. Okay, that's just called more, right? Change means, by definition, it means the end of something, right? That's done and something new is starting. So I just want to pause here again and acknowledge this is really easy to talk about, to just talk about. I mean, there's easier things to talk about, but I mean, it's really easy for us to just kind of sit here and converse about this. It's so easy for us, right, to just be here together and kind of have this conversation. That's not hard. And we can even say things like, oh yeah, change is hard. Yep, we got to let something go in order to make room for something new, right? We just like toss these words out. But when you really, really think about this, just take a moment and a deep breath here and acknowledge this is not easy. Like to actually really fully let go of a way of being, of something that you've been thinking or believing, something you've been feeling, something you've been doing, maybe a way that you've been living your life. To let go of that is really, really tough. It challenges your mind. It challenges your habits and patterns. It challenges what you're familiar with and what you're comfortable thinking and feeling and doing. It challenges all of that. So think of a time maybe when something drastic changed in your life. Like you got a new job, you moved, you had a baby, you started or ended a relationship, maybe you lost someone close to you. Think of those huge life moments when it seems like everything changes all at once, right? Those things that just affect everything. You know what I mean? So think about that for a moment. All of those examples that I just gave you, they have like this roller coaster element to them. And what I mean is, once you're strapped in at the beginning of the ride, you're on, right? You're not like choosing to get off at the top of the first hill and just like going up that first hill over and over and over again and then just bailing, right? You can't change your mind once you're on. You accept that job offer, you find out you're pregnant, you move in with someone, you get divorced, you experience the death of someone. That's not a ride you're getting off, right? It's happening. So there's this sense of like, well, here we go. There's that aspect to those kinds of changes. You might have chosen to get on the ride, right? Now, some of those rides you don't choose to get on, they happen to you. But either way, once you're on, you're on. And it's a matter of just holding on for dear life and getting through it. You can't really predict or anticipate how it's all going to happen, how it's all going to feel, but you're living it, right? So that's one way things change. And I got to be honest, some of that's just kind of handy because you don't have to keep choosing it over and over again. It's happening, so it's happening, right? It's like off you go. Now, I want you to really think about something that you want to change in your life, something you want to create or end or do differently. Maybe it's a new way you want to think or feel. Maybe it's something you want to show up for differently. Just a new way of moving about the world. And this thing, let's think about this. It's something that you could do today and then you'd never do it again. Right? You could eat healthy today or get up at 5 a.m. today or have more patience with your kids today and then never do it again. Right? You could try it. You could find out it's a little tricky. That's a little inconvenient and just abandon it. These are things you have to choose over and over and over again until a full and complete change has happened. Until it's like, like those Plinko chips, until it like sinks all the way down into your cells. Like until something is transformed. And it's not because you just got through a 2-minute roller coaster ride, right? Like the other examples, but because you're able to stick with it. Because you're able to choose it over and over and over again 1,000,000 times. And because you committed to it long enough to change your life. What? This is way different, way different. And yet, these are the kinds of changes I hear people talking about all the time, right? Things that they're wanting, big things, small things, personal things, professional things they're choosing for themselves. And it's like, then we're so confused about why it's hard or why we shy away from it or why we can't just do it and get over it already. It's so much easier when you just get on the ride, right? Buckle up and let go. It's way harder when you're the one who has to do the work, when you have to make the decisions, when you have to keep at it day after day. So that's something to acknowledge where change is concerned, right? I also have found that there are a few steps where change is concerned. This kind of change, right? This kind of change where you plan for it and you likely want it, at least in some form or fashion. And these changes that you really have to work to create, not the buckle up kind of change, but the habits or the feelings or the ways of being that you want to change. There's a few steps to that kind of change. So let's talk about this real quickly. The first step is reflection, right? You're taking a moment to take stock of life and say, I think things could be different. Maybe better. Maybe it's not even about better. But it's more just about different, something other than what is. But you're pausing somewhere with something and you're reflecting. You're considering that things could be other than they are. That's the first step. From there, you start planning and strategizing, right? This is the construction phase. You're preparing to make the change. So you're like gathering resources, you're figuring things out, you're contemplating and considering, like sifting, sorting, creating what's coming, right? A lot of this is happening in your mind. Maybe you're learning things. Maybe you're amassing things, right? But then you take action. This is where you go for it. You start creating the change you're seeking. So it's no longer just an idea. It's no longer just something abstract in your mind. You're doing it. You're living it. But then one more step. We thought we were done with action, right? Sustaining it. You have to keep going. Change isn't one decision, one choice, one action. It's doing that over and over again. Course correcting, adjusting, doubling down. And all the while, there's this recognition, this awareness that there's loss, right? There's a saying goodbye to the old way. Whatever came before, that's over. So there's an undercurrent of something. Maybe it looks like grief. Maybe it looks like letting go. It could be acceptance, could be sadness. That's in the mix too as you're stepping through reflect, construct, act, sustain. There, all the meanwhile, is this let go, let go, let go. This is how we create change. And this is also why change is so, so hard. So in his brilliant book, it's called The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, he wrote this. "Look at that chessboard we put back in place," she said softly. "Look at how ordered and safe and peaceful it looks now before a game starts. It's a beautiful thing. But it is boring. It is dead. And yet the moment you make a move on that board, things change. Things begin to get more chaotic. And that chaos builds with every single move you make. It's an easy game to play," she said, "but a hard one to master. Every move you make opens a whole new world of possibilities. In chess, as in life, possibility is the basis of everything. Every hope, every dream, every regret, every moment of living. Never underestimate the big importance of small things." So I wanted to close with this for today, right? First of all, this imagery is so good. A chessboard all reset, ready to go. Beautiful. But also boring, right? It's dead. And every move made makes for more possibility. Every change leads to more change. You can't get comfortable after a move or two. There's no point. Really? Right? Right? And really, life is like this too. It's a chess game that keeps expanding. And undoubtedly, it keeps getting more chaotic. And the changes build on themselves. We forget that we're in a constantly changing game of life, right? Our own individual chess games. And that we can't move a rook out and then just like hang there forever. Change the board again. Change again. Change again. And every move can be this intentional process of reflect, construct, act, sustain. Reflect, construct, act, sustain. So that we keep purposefully creating our lives instead of reacting as the world and pressures and expectations unfold before us. You with me? Also, that book is just plain cool. It's so good. The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Totally check it out. All right. That's it for today. Change is hard And here's why. Yeah? And just because it's hard doesn't mean we can't do it. There's a process, right? There's awareness. There's the recognition that doing hard things, that's not something cute to post on Instagram. It's a very real phenomena that we experience and that we endure as we go through life, doing hard things, particularly if we want to create the life we actually want for ourselves. I will see you again at the same time, same place next week for more transforming anxiety. And until then, please take care. Do you have someone to help you with your stress, anxiety, worry, and overwhelm? If not, I would love to be your coach. The Fierce Calm Project is my virtual coaching program where we get to go in on topics like this one, and I can help you apply these lessons to your life so that you're creating your own transformation. We do live coaching calls, guided meditations, on-demand yoga classes. We hold book club where we read books your neighborhood book club won't, and there's lots of bonus content that I've created just for you. When you're ready to take what you're learning on the podcast to a whole other level, then come on over and check out the Fierce Calm Project at kellyhanlonmccormick.com/Fierce Calm Project.